All right. So since it's Brooke and Zach in the room right now, you guys got any questions?
Nope.
All right. So on Monday, we talked about how situational crime prevention can be used. And broadly speaking, it is fairly effective at addressing issues within a particular place. However, like anything else, there are problems with relying on a situational crime prevention approach. So based on your understanding of this, what do you think those problems are?
What are our ideas on the misconceptions?
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on what the problems would be?
Well, I mean, as many I don't know what to call them, but the criteria or the checklist we went through, I mean, it's pretty big, but I still think it's not completely real. Like it shouldn't be the sole focus of stopping crime.
So problem number one, probably shouldn't rely on only situational approaches. I buy that. Brooke, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
Sorry, it usually lets me press the space bar, but issues with like implementation across like a department. So it doesn't usually work if it's in a like tiny little spots. It has to be like applied over a large area.
Okay, so typically speaking, situational crime prevention is something where we have to explicitly tailor any intervention to this particular spot. And even if something like if we're looking at convenience stores, what works in the Tiger Mart isn't going to work on the Texaco or Casey's on 13th, right? So anything else? What other problems we got?
I mean, number 3 there sticks out to me as it's kind of, it's not really beating crime at the source.
Okay, so you're not addressing things like motivation. If someone's stealing because they're starving, they're still starving even though they can't steal. So you're not addressing any of the potential harms or the potential causes of the crime itself. You're still just preventing crime at that specific location. Yeah, definitely. Something that I've often heard thrown around is that crime prevention is expensive. And because there are very few like direct ways in which to fund crime prevention, it's typically just a cost of doing business. It gets expensive. Like surveillance cameras are expensive, security guards are expensive. Putting in $1,000 bulletproof like window at a convenience store is like pretty expensive. So when we're looking at how we can actually implement crime prevention or situational crime prevention, cost is a key factor because we're basically saying we have to make specific changes. Like that convenience store example we talked about on Monday, where a good way to minimize robberies is to have multiple clerks on duty. Well, even if you're paying a minimum wage, you've just doubled your cost, your employment costs. Like it can be, really costly. Like there's no way around it. So Ronald Clark has 7 misconceptions about crime prevention that I think are pretty valid to discuss right now. So first and foremost, many people, when they're looking at crime prevention, think it's just like, well, you're making changes to the environment. It's not really a theory-driven strategy. And we know first and foremost that that is explicitly false. Situational crime prevention is based on the idea that we can increase guardianship, decrease vulnerability, and reduce or change motivations in order to change where crime happens or what types of crimes happen or whether a crime is going to occur at all. All of that is based on routine activities theory. So we know explicitly that misconception is wrong, all right? While there are comparatively very few systematic studies of situational crime prevention, a case study approach, which is often what we have to use in methodologies like this, has shown that it works and it doesn't just push crime to other locations. All right. Number 3, the misconception that it diverts attention from the root cause of crime. Yes, but also it's effective at reducing crime. Like if our goal is to reduce crime, this works. If we're saying, well, we're not addressing the root causes of crime, well, we need to identify what those are. Poverty, social factors, social network pressures, low education, drug addiction, like those are explicit problems that have their own solutions, okay? Number 4, situational crime prevention is a conservative managerial approach to crime. Basically, you're not trying to eliminate crime, you're trying to reduce its frequency, which, yeah. I mean, point for whoever said that one. But basically, what it boils down to is situational crime prevention understands that we're not going to be able to eliminate crime at all. But we can reduce it. We can reduce its severity or lethality or whatever. But this approach is something that is cost effective, okay? 5, 6, and 7, which aren't up there, are fairly similar misconceptions in the sense that they're arguing that situational crime prevention either encourages more surveillance by the government or businesses or whoever, and promotes a view of society that is not the best. It's fairly dim, or God, I can't think of the word. Cynical, right? In the sense that we're basically assuming that everyone who comes into a space is bad, right? But our counter argument to that is if crime goes down, everyone benefits, and everyone effectively benefits equally as long as they're all using the space. Like everyone benefits when shoplifting is reduced at Walmart because it means Walmart doesn't have to jack up their prices to pay for the shoplifted material. Right. As far as the 6th misconception explicitly, it promotes Big Brother and restricts personal freedoms. Yeah. In many instances, we're not trying, like the government isn't doing this. The government isn't making Walmart install surveillance cameras. The business is doing this because it's going to lead to reduced shoplifting.
Right? 1984.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was not written in 2015, 2005. Sorry. When I imported this, I did not fix my citations. But basically, if you're going to use a space, you want to feel safe there. And a business has incentives to reduce crime at a location. Pretty much all business or all place owners have that responsibility. So anytime someone goes into a space, they're basically agreeing, hey, I am okay with a surveillance camera watching my move as I move through the space. Okay. Number 7 is interesting. It's something that, like, I've heard like a lot more recently than 2005. The idea that by trying to take steps to prevent a crime from occurring, you're basically saying that anyone who is a victim of a crime in this space was careless. Okay. It's explicitly not the case, right? Basically what it boils down to is these are smart practices, but first and foremost, they're not going to prevent all crime. And that also absolves the offender of some of their responsibility. If we blame the victim, that means what the offender did was okay. All right. Making sense? Right. So other than these misconceptions, and we've hinted at, we discussed this a little bit already, but I want to dive into it a little bit more detail. What are those problems with situational crime prevention?
Regards to stopping like all the time. I mean, and specifically as it applies to businesses, I think displacement.
Okay. So the idea that displacement is going to occur, like you're not addressing the motivation aspect, so crime can move to other areas. Like, and we kind of understand that from any of the research on crackdowns. Okay. As soon as pressure is taken off of that area, it comes back. So if surveillance cameras are disabled or situational crime prevention techniques that are applied, like target hardening or increased security guards or anything like that, are relaxed or done away with, then crime's going to come back. I mean, that's basic. That's a genuine critique. These are not like, you don't just do this and then you don't follow up with it. Okay. As far as displacement standpoint, it's not common. And usually when it happens, like, it's typically smaller. Like, for instance, if we shut down Chuck's, more people are going to go to the Rose or the Q or other places. But there is a reason why problems concentrate at Chuck's, right? And the rows and the queue don't have those specific reasons. Like they're further away from campus, they're better lit, they have different policies, things like that.
Although, couldn't it be argued that those things still could happen, maybe not even in an establishment? I mean,
Yeah.
It could happen at a residence or
Right.
a party.
So displacing things to other locations may make crimes actually worse. Like if we're looking at something like underage or binge drinking, shutting down Chuck's is going to push people to house parties where alcohol, instead of being not regulated enough, is just unregulated. And there's no one there who's acting as any kind of guardian, because if everyone's getting drunk and everything, no one's like saying, hey, you shouldn't drink that, someone may have dosed it. Do you have any critiques, Brooke?
I can't think of any right now.
Yeah, I think the main problem is that it needs to be coupled with something else.
Yeah. Needs to be coupled with something else. And like, have you heard of any of these techniques before other than something like target hardening, which is like a buzzword now?
I mean, yeah, but not all of them for sure. Just maybe a couple. But not like in the context of this degree and these classes, not anywhere else.
Yeah. So it's the point I'm trying to make here is that this is fairly specialized, and it's not something that we can easily be done by non-criminal justice students. Right? It does happen, like loss prevention is an actual specialty within business, like architects and interior designers, like when they're designing like how places are oriented or placement of surveillance cameras, things like that, they are thinking about these things, but also they're not us. And also, we are not architects or business owners or salespeople, typically speaking. So there is that need for us to cooperate with people who are outside the criminal justice system within things like private security or stores or other things that are extremely relevant. Like this is a specialization within criminal justice in the field of crime prevention, but it requires businesses and residences and governments to recognize the fact that they don't know this and to reach out. Making sense? I apologize for the kind of the distracted class today. It's been a day or 2 days. So, yeah, and the fact that there are only 2 of you in this class right now is kind of limiting my ability to like do discussion. Like nothing against like in-person versus Zoom. It's just there are 3 people in here. I kind of banked on like more people showing up. All right. You have any questions about this situational crime prevention issues, concerns? I would definitely, like, if you're looking at things from a test question perspective, I may like include a like YouTube video or something about a space or a picture, and or just like a scenario and say, hey, maybe explain how you would apply the 25 techniques included in the crime prevention or crime analysis problem solvers document to address this situation. Like, I cannot stress enough how much I wish I had just assigned that PDF as the assigned text for the class and then built around that. Like, I'm doing that the next time I teach this. Because I was an idiot not to go to the PDF that's publicly available. The Place Matters book is fantastic. I love it to death. But also, we're looking at concrete steps and like making this as practical as possible. That's the book. So, all right. Unrelated to crime analysis. Please, 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 Zach, I know you've already done this, but I guess Brooke, I'm talking to you now. Take the campus climate and victimization survey. You received it on Monday from, I think it was FHSU notifications. Are you smiling because you took it already?
I'm smiling because I don't read Jorge's emails anymore. I just delete them.
Well, that one was actually important.
She does have a point though.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're focused.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that's why we have comparatively few people doing the survey. So the reason why it's important is, first and foremost, this is going to actually inform policy at Fort Hays. So any changes that we might do to how victims are handled or crime itself is prevented on Fort Hays, as well as it covers things like perceptions of law enforcement. So we might lead to things changing at the UPD. Yeah.
I talk to people on my staff and I encourage them to tell people in their buildings to do it. But also, when we do, I can go to the Res Life office and see if they'd send it out in a student announcement thing if you'd be.
Yeah, that'd be great. Trying to send this out as widely as possible because, yes, it's important for university policy. This is going to help us understand what's going on campus. But also, Dr. Terry and I are, and like the rest of the department, are using this survey for research. Like, there's a call for manuscripts due in March that April and I are going to work on for like using this data. So as long as we get good data, we'll be able to do it. So, 2 reasons to do it. One is selfish for like the CJ department, but also like this is fairly important in the sense that it will lead to us understanding more about victimization on campus. And other things like Fort Hays student perceptions of law enforcement, bystander intervention, substance use. Like it covers a wide range of things. Yes, if you can take it yourself, I guess, Brooke, since you're the only one here who I do not know if they've taken it, since Zach sent me a screenshot. Encourage as many people as you can to take it, because again, it is very important for the university. And I've got nothing else. I haven't gotten a text message. Well, apparently the nightmare isn't over, as my wife just said. So the nightmare being we don't know who's president yet, or going to be president.
Well, so last night, around the time I went to bed, it was pretty decided that Trump was going to win Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But also, that was just reading the maps.
Yeah.
But then this morning I woke up and Michigan and Wisconsin were blue or leaning blue.
Yeah.
Flip again?
Nope, it's still stuck at 238, 214 with 86 electoral votes still up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
As it stands right now, I think I'll just move this over to screen share so we all, yeah. So as it stands right now, Biden is in the lead. He has 270 votes if nothing flips or 273, I think. Because Nevada is 6, Wisconsin is 6 or 10, and Michigan 16, and he needs 32 electoral votes. So that gets him over 10, 26, 6, so 32. These 3 states, and then the one from Nebraska, and 3 from Maine. 275. So as it stands right now, Biden has won, but there are major caveats because these races have 95% in, 96% in, 67% in, but that's counties, not votes. So 538 has basically come out and said, like, hey, it's probably going to get more for Biden because all of the 6, 7, 8 remaining states had policies in place where they would not start, or they would count the in-person votes first, which tended to skew Republican, and count the mail-in ballots, absentee, and early votes later, second. So that's why, like, it flipped last night from Michigan red to Michigan blue. They started counting the mail-in ballots, like 538. Let's see. Scrolling down a little bit because they're talking about other things. At an hour ago, he said, we just got about 44,000 more votes reported from Wayne County, Michigan, home of Detroit. The new votes, about 30,000 went to Biden and 13 for Trump. Statewide, with 94% of the expected vote reporting, Biden has had 49.6% to 48.7%, or by about 48,000 votes. Like, this is kind of where, like, it helps to understand both the percentage that someone is up and also the number of votes. Like, Wisconsin, Biden is up by 0.6%, but that might be by 20,000 votes. Yeah, it's by 20,000 votes and change. And a bunch of assholes decided that they were gonna, yeah, effectively vote for Kanye, because that's what that is down to. Yeah. Another stressful night, and I'm old enough to where I kind of want a Tums right now. Getting some heartburn.
You too, huh?
Yep. But hey, I didn't drink an entire bottle of bourbon, so beating 2016. Well, I split a bottle of bourbon with a friend of mine. We were drinking it excitedly to begin, and then got more and more depressed.
You know, something interesting about Pennsylvania is that they added about another 100,000 votes this year because the Amish community.
Interesting.
So, like, Lancaster County is like entire voting kind of change.
Yeah. So I just want it to be over. I wish it had been like a landslide either direction, just because I wanted to know last night. But this was like, we knew this was going to happen like a year ago, that it was like, it was going to come down to these states that are still not called yet, because that's just what polling was. So, yeah, I've got nothing else. So on Monday, what are we getting into? Forget what we're talking about Monday, but hopefully we will actually know who is president and who won the Senate and House and all that other fun stuff. So, all right. I will see you guys on Monday. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and talk to you then.
Right.